Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg, continuing on here with currently Lieutenant Chad Brecklin, but soon to be Chief of Police starting Monday. Either way, your duty now is to give us the update, and that's why we had you here, was to give us a police update. First of the year here, we kind of kicked off a new year for us, and starting off with the 6 new officers. Let's get the update of where they're at in their now field training.
Yes, so we hired 6 new officers towards the last half of 2017, and those 6 officers spent 18 weeks at Madison College completing the state's Law Enforcement Police Academy, or Law Enforcement Academy. They finished that academy on December 21st, and they have now had about a 4-day orientation period with us during the first week of January, and then we have now begun to work them into the field training process with their field training officers. So all 6 of them have been assigned to a field training officer and will at some point in time be rotating their way through the department shifts. We typically try to get them through all 3 shifts, but sometimes they may only spend time on 2 of the shifts. But a couple of them are military veterans and are still active in the reserves, so they have some military service in there that, during their field training process that may cause them to take a little bit longer before they're out on their own. But we're glad that they're able to serve not only the Fitchburg community, but our country as well. And we've always been supportive of military service.
Absolutely. I can remember a few for me being here that have served both, so definitely appreciate that. Switching gears then to stolen autos, kind of ended the last year. Definitely an increase, unfortunately, but what's the status now here moving in 2018?
Yeah, well, we've seen maybe a slight decline in the activity on that regionally, but certainly not to where we would hope it to be. There's still very regular occurrences of cars being stolen. Typically, they're left running to warm up, and the next thing you know, somebody comes out, even if it's been for a couple of minutes, and the car is gone, or folks have been rummaging through cars and finding keys in them and then taking them at that point. Obviously, we've done a number of messaging initiatives to try to encourage people to not leave their car running idle, not leave keys in it, keep it locked, and those sorts of things. We've also tried to do some things. I was looking at some information prior to the holiday season starting. From an accountability standpoint, our agency has actually has 19 different juveniles have been charged for operating a motor vehicle without owner's consent through the District Attorney's Office Juvenile Intake Division, and that's just since Labor Day. So our staff has been doing, in my opinion, a very good job of trying to follow up on these cases, identify suspects, and then put together the evidence and interviews to the point where the DA's office has been able to charge 19 different juveniles for their behavior. We're also looking at other aspects to try to stem this problem. We have some meetings coming up. We've been meeting with the District Attorney's Office on the juvenile side to include the District Attorney Ishmael Ozan. We have some work in place that we hope to take place over the next 30 days or so that is reaching out to some community stakeholders to talk about the scope of this problem and the impact that it could have on the community, and it is already having, but clearly there's some tragic situations that could result, and I would love to talk about one of those in a minute here. And then we're also working with some of the court side of things and human services to try to attack this problem, so to speak, from multiple fronts, and it's not just a police situation to solve. We're not going to be able to arrest and or charge this problem away. I mean, we need to find additional solutions to try to resolve the situation. But I also want to mention, how lucky we've been that we haven't had a tragic situation happen. But right before Christmas, I think it was the 21st of December, we had one of our sergeants located a stolen automobile that had been taken up on Leopold Way over near the Allied Drive neighborhood. He followed it for a short distance. It pulls over to the side of the road, looks like it's going to stop or pull into a driveway. He decides to turn on his emergency lights at that point in time. He gets out of the car, and about the time he gets out of the car ahead of him takes off. The sergeant made an excellent decision. He did not elect to pursue that vehicle. But he could see as it sped away, it went over a depression in the road or dip in the road, ended up going airborne, went down the road it was on, struck a parked car, continued back out onto the road, and then hit a utility pole and a street light, and basically end up totaling the car. He gets there noting that there's probably had been a crash, but so he follows the path, gets there, all the doors are open, the car's clearly totaled. Come to find out, we had two, I believe, 15-year-old juvenile females that had taken the car, and there were 3 2-year-old kids in the back seat of that car. Again, amazingly, neither the juveniles nor the 3 young children were hurt seriously through that incident, but it really drives home the potential for problems with this behavior. While it may not seem like it's a bad thing for somebody to go and take a car if they're just going to dump it, a little while later, it could turn out really bad. And we're trying to avoid those situations by doing a lot of proactive work with a number of different organizations.
I was going to ask you about that that scenario that escalated into something that could have been tragic. And I thank God everything lined up and things and worked out for that. But that would be one more question for you, and then we'll get you out of here. But starting that car and leaving kids in the car, there's no scenario that.
Well, sadly enough, Jeremy, the kids weren't left in the car in this particular case. The juveniles took the car. They were supposed to be watching these 3 kids, and they went to where they were supposed to be watching these 3 kids and picked the kids up, and then you put them in the backseat of the car as you're driving away and end up fleeing from police. I mean, it just has bad potential written all over it.
Yeah. Again, still shocking too. Just comprehending all of that is something else. But again, I'm thankful that things turned out in a positive manner. Maybe not in the taking the car part, but that everybody was okay. And knowing that you guys will continue to find solutions, and I appreciate you breaking those down for us, because it's more than just what you think's going into that. You guys got a lot invested in that.
Yeah, so, you summed it up very well of an investment. It's an investment in our community, and then we're trying to take a multifaceted approach to make that investment.
Well, Chad, I appreciate taking the time. Again, congratulations, and looking forward to having you on the rest of this year.
Sounds good.
And for future, too. We've invested in this guy just a little bit. All right, that is it, Mr. Chad Brecklin. We'll take a break, wrap up the show next. It is Talking Fitchburg.